Hey guys, as part of our Saturday specials, we've got this surplus food mini-series that we're working on the lead up to Wok for 1,000. I've actually got this kind of like mystery box here full of ingredients and leftovers from the school fridges. And the guys have challenged me to come up with some dishes for you guys to show you how easy it is to use leftovers in our type of cooking. Let's go to the kitchen. Welcome back to Saturday Specials. We are still very much in our surplus food specials series. And what I'm finding really enjoyable is the guys are getting a real kick out of me not knowing what I'm cooking. So I'm going to sort of guess. There's something warm in there. I think it's chicken stock. I think that's an aubergine. Let's have a look. What have we got? We have a load of Southeast Asian ingredients. We have a fridge in the school full of different types of sort of base Thai spices. We've got Thai shallots, some garlic, some palm sugar, lemongrass hiding in over here. That's not a trick this time, I don't think. And then this stuff here is fresh turmeric. So I'm guessing I'm making a veggie Thai or Indonesian style yellow curry. Am I right, Lee? I'm close. Some sort of curry. I'm gonna make a curry with it. I don't care what the guys think. Right, so anyway, but the whole point of this is leftovers. You can see we've got bits and bobs of leftovers from the school. Red chilies, always in the school, good to use up. Red chilies. I'm gonna make a red Thai curry paste. No. What am I making?
Malaysian curry.
Malaysian curry. Okay, Malaysian, Indonesian, Thai, all follow a very similar sort of base of flavors. But this aubergine, yes, definitely getting on the older side, needs using up, but absolutely fine to use. Some coriander, a few dead bits, but apart from that, everything else is definitely usable. Sweet potato, squash, good bit of meaty veg, and then we've got some vegetable stock there, so not chicken stock. A base of some kaffir lime leaves, some star anise, cinnamon, and then we're going to season it up with light soy sauce and some palm sugar. Let's get cooking. So I'm going to start with making a paste. Now, you could use a pestle and mortar. That would be the more traditional way. But hey, it's a Saturday. I'm going to go nice and easy. I want to go for a run later or something like that, because I'm really healthy. So I'm going to put it into the food processor and just blitz everything up. I also know that Lee absolutely loves the noise of this food processor, so we're going to use that. So I've got my ginger, a bit of garlic, my Thai shallots. I've just popped the Thai shallots into some hot water just to help with an easy peel. The ginger can go straight into my food processor. Turmeric, I'll cut last, I think. A bit of garlic. Probably need about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic for this. And the guys have definitely given me the older stuff, but that is the point. And once it's popped into a paste, you won't have a clue that this is leftover stuff. Your chilies, I will cut into them just to help the food processor out. So I'm just opening the chilies up before popping them in. And I might actually keep one chili at the end for a bit of garnish. Just gonna take the seeds out of that and then cut nice long strips of chili. That'll make the curry nice and pretty. And then we've got your Thai shallots, slightly sweeter than a Western shallot or onion. So give a nice sweet base to the curry. That hot water helps with peeling, so you should be able to just take the skin off quite easily now. And those can go straight into the processor. I've got 3 whole lemongrass here. I'm gonna use one for the paste And because lemongrass is quite fibrous, even if I'm putting it into a food processor, I still chop it up a good amount. The rest of the lemongrass I'm going to use to add lemongrass flavour, but I don't want the paste to be too coarse. So I'm just going to bash these sticks, and then I'll just bend those and then pop them into the curry along with the dry spices. Well, they can go there for now. Right, so my paste is pretty much there. I've got my turmeric, which I've left till last because I don't want to get my fingers too coloured. So turmeric can go straight in. That fresh turmeric will really brighten up this curry. Straight on top. Blitz away. Make as much noise as possible. But you see here now, it's still quite coarse, that paste, because I'm just blitzing it. So if you did want to just do this and not use a pestle and mortar, a little bit of oil won't hurt. So we can put the oil into the paste, and then you don't really need to use oil when you start to cook. Hopefully that will just ease that up a bit. Look at that. Great colour, nice and pasty, ready to fry. I've got my curry paste ready. Right there, Lee. Set your stomach. So I've got my curry paste ready, but what I'm going to do, and this is quite a nice way to bring out the flavour of your whole spices, is just to sort of dry roast them on the bottom of the pan. You'll start to smell that sweet aroma come out of the star anise and the cinnamon, and then we'll add the lemongrass in as well. Your lime leaf can go in when the liquid's all in there. So, and it doesn't need any oil because the oil is going to come from the paste that I just made. You want to sort of run it dry for about 2 to 3 minutes, and you'll smell that sweet aroma straight away. So you can do this for lots of different dishes. Obviously I'm making a curry here, but if you're making like a Vietnamese pho and you dry roast your whole spices first, then it completely changes the flavour of the stock or the liquid when it goes in. So my paste, depending on how spicy you want this, you probably want to start with about 2 tablespoons of paste. If you like it really spicy, go for 3 or 4. But if you've got leftover paste, just freeze it in ice cube trays and then you can use it as you go. But as we know, we've got oil in there, so that oil will start to seep out of the paste itself. If you feel like you need to add a bit more oil, then just wait for it for a few minutes before you do so. And the reason for waiting is because you want to give that oil time to just sip out and sort of swirl around, and you don't want your curry to be too greasy. I also don't mind a bit sticking, so long as you can control your heat in the pan, because when the liquid comes in, then all of that will lift off the bottom. So I'm just going to turn the heat down slightly and let that cook for a good sort of 3 to 4 minutes before I add anything else. Keep that moving, make sure it doesn't burn. The way I explain it is that what you're trying to do is cook out the rawness of the actual ingredients. So when you smell it and it smells quite grassy, then it still needs a couple more minutes to cook through. As soon as it's lost its grassy aroma, then your spices are being well tempered, well cooked through. I'm going to keep this whole dish completely vegan, so I haven't got any shrimp paste or anything like that in there. But if you wanted to and you're doing a meat version of this dish, then get some shrimp paste in there, season it with fish sauce, but I'm seasoning this one with light soy sauce instead of fish sauce. So that's for later. I've got my coconut milk that's going to start going into this now. And what we do is we add a little bit of coconut milk at a time. Make sure it bubbles up nicely. Scrape all that flavour off the bottom of the pan. So that's bubbling up nicely. So at this point, add a bit more. Scrape again, bring it to a boil. So another thing that this sort of gradual addition of coconut milk does is that by the end of it, what I want to see is hopefully a slight split of the oil and the actual solid of the coconut milk. And that's what the gradual addition helps with. Why that's good is that whatever is underneath the oil, that film of oil, has a really intense flavour. So the last bit of coconut milk, every time I put a little bit more coconut milk in, I let it come to a boil and then go for the next. Lime leaves, bring that to a good boil. And then I've got the shallot water. I'm not going to waste this. This is a no food waste policy dish. So the shallot water is going in, my vegetable stock. Bring that to a boil, and then once it's boiling, just lower the heat, let it simmer. So I want to keep that going, so I'm going to cover it with a lid, just turn the heat down, and then onto my veg. The guys have given me some butternut squash, sweet potato, really good textured vegetables. They'll need a fair amount of cooking, so a good sort of 20 minutes. That smells amazing already and incredibly steamy. That lime leaf is really jumping out at me. So my squash as I say, you can use any sort of textured meaty veg, or even carrots will do. If you're using veg that needs to be cooked a bit quicker, like broccoli and things like that, just cut them up and put them into the curry later on. With your squash and your sweet potato, I'm going for sort of good chunks. They can go straight in to that simmering curry. Sweet potato. I'm actually going to keep the skin on with the sweet potato. It's very good for you. Keeps it together as well. So I'm going to go for sort of quarters and then similar sized chunks to the squash. Straight in. Let that cook 15 minutes or so before I add my aubergine. So my aubergine, just want nice chunky bits of aubergine. So they're good 1.5 centimeters thick. So you don't want them to cook too quickly when they go into the curry. Now I could just pan fry them dry, but actually a little bit of oil is fine. What you don't want to do with aubergine is over oil, because aubergine is like a sponge. It kind of really sucks up and soaks up all that oil. So just a light sort of almost marinade of oil around the aubergine rubbed into it before you then pan fry it is the way that we do this. My mum taught me this. She used to make an Iranian stew, and she'd cook her aubergine like this every single time. And it works an absolute treat. It really is, for me, the best way to cook aubergine. So we're going to char this aubergine both sides before we put it into the curry. So my aubergine's really nicely charred, and when I press into it, it's quite sort of soft and softened, pretty much just over half cooked. So pop that aside, just bring your curry over, and then all your aubergine can go straight into that curry. From here on in, I want this sort of curry to thicken up a little bit. I don't want it to be over thick. So I'm going to leave the lid off. The only thing I have to do now is season it up. So I've got some palm sugar. That's going to accentuate the coconut milk, but only a little bit. It's just a teaspoon or so of palm sugar. Light soy sauce for the saltiness. About 2 tablespoons of light soy, roughly. And then let that keep going for another 10 minutes or so that the aubergine soaks up all that flavour, and then the squash and the sweet potato just cook through nicely. Medium heat, don't let it overboil. After a good 10 minutes or so, that aubergine is really taking in all the flavour of the curry. I can see a little sheen of oil over the top of this, so I've got that intense flavour underneath. I just put a little knife through one of the sweet potato chunks and it goes straight through. It's nice and soft, then it's cooked. So switch that off and it's time to serve up. Try not to get these big stalks of lemongrass if you can help it. Get a load of that sauce. Really nice, creamy, bright orange colour from that turmeric. Ooh. So, the aubergine and all the other veg should be still intact, but have soaked in all that flavour. I love the natural sweetness that sweet potato and squash and even aubergine have. They interact really well with the coconut milk, and it's just so simple, but really intense flavours. And remember, this sort of stuff needs to be used, not thrown away. If you like this recipe and you want to learn more, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.